What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me on the panel, Robert DeFelice.
What's up, what's up?
What's down, what's left, what's right, what's...
up, down, down?
Sideways, diagonally, what's, everything.
Those are all the different ways you can cut a pizza.
Oh, man, I want some pizza.
I know.
Oh, man. We are talking about the UK Championship Tournament, the 2018 edition of it. We're not just going back in time to talk about 2017 here, although maybe that would have been a better thing to watch. So warning before we get into this ahead of time. You may hear some weird audio on my end. It is most likely my audio, not yours, although your computer might be messed up too, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I can't help you with that. Sorry. But my end, I'm recording on a different microphone, a different computer, and in a different environment. So it's kind of the same as what we did a couple of weeks ago where I mentioned that ahead of time. Sorry about that, everybody. If you hear an echo or the volume is strange, doing the best that I can. Also, warning ahead of time, you're not going to hear super, super positive things on this podcast because our collective thought for this whole tournament was just bleh. It's really a shame.
And it's not that it was a bad show. I would still recommend watching it, but as you know, you may know or may not know about both of us, we cover wrestling all day long. So this is very much old news to us. So by the time we saw it, it was very spoiled and just whatever.
Yeah, that's the downside to doing this kind of crap because ahead of time, if you don't know what's happening, you can at least be invested in going like, oh, I wonder who they're going to choose to win this and stuff. Knowing the spoilers a week in advance, every single match was, oh, okay, yeah, I know that this guy beats that guy, and now it's up to them to work with like a negative going into it already. It's like having the end of a movie spoiled, and then the movie is contingent upon that big twist ending being something that you really, really enjoy. You know, if somebody would have mentioned the ending of The Sixth Sense ahead of time, I doubt I really would have enjoyed that movie. And I hate that I have to report on this kind of crap because it kills it. But also, I have to say, I just don't think anybody stood out all that much. You know, I watched the Cruiserweight Classic ahead of time, and they told you what the results were a little bit in advance for that. But everybody still captivated. Not everybody, but most people still captivated me. Cedric Alexander blew my mind. Kota Ibushi was great. Zack Sabre Jr., even though I think he was a little bit overrated, he was still pretty interesting to me. TJ Perkins was interesting. You know, there was a good number of people that I was like, wow, I hope that they bring that guy in. Even somebody like a Fabian Eichner, who really hasn't done all that much. I was still just kind of like, I can see this guy going somewhere. With the Mae Young Classic, I didn't like how they released that, all the episodes in one shot kind of a thing, but some of the people that were in that tournament really surprised me. This tournament just didn't have people that stood out to me. They were all pretty much generic and bland.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw this idea out there as well. When the Cruiserweight Classic happened, it felt so fresh, and the changes in the business felt so surreal still at that point. I think we kind of take the match quality and what's happening in the business now for granted because we're used to it now. It's like, yeah, cool. So they're bringing in all these guys from independents, and we know that they've been doing that. So it's not as mind-blowing in that sense either, which kind of hinders the outlook on the show.
A little bit, yeah. And I don't want to say, you know, that this was like so horrible in the sense that like, you know, the matches were terrible and everybody is the worst superstar in the world and they should all, you know, find different jobs. Because that wasn't the case. It was just meh. Like, I didn't feel connected to anything on here. And I think a good way to exhibit the problem with that was I didn't get around to watching the first round. And I tried watching the first match that I had on my playlist, because I put every single match that was when they released the full match, whatever. I put that as the very, very top of my YouTube Watch Now playlist, or Watch Later, and I perpetually ignored it for the entire week, or more than a week, really, probably. I kept just like watching other videos. You know, I'd be like, man, I really should watch Amir Jordan versus Zack Gibson. But I'm more interested in this thing that says how to make churro chocolate bombs. Or I really should check out Ligero because I don't know anything about Ligero and him against Travis Banks. Maybe that's interesting. I'm hearing some buzz about Travis Banks. However, alternatively, I can click on another episode of the movie Trivia Schmodown, or I can click on fucking God knows what else. You know what I mean? Like anything else took my attention away from this. I watched one match. I watched Joseph Connors versus Ashton Smith, and about like 5 minutes into the match, I switched the YouTube play speed to 1.25 because I was like, I want this to be over quicker. That's not really crapping on those two guys. Ashton Smith seemed fine. I just didn't care.
For me, I was reporting for WrestleZone. Oh, they just announced Kenny Williams lost his qualifier and Zack Gibson won his qualifier. And I was reporting that even before they were showing the YouTube stuff. So then I had to report when they released all of that. And by the time I sat down after doing, the podcast with you and all the stuff for WrestleZone, I was just like, I don't want to watch these matches that I already know what happened. So I kind of let it go. And I felt like if I'm missing something, I'll hear it about it and I'll go back and watch it.
Exactly. I figured if anybody would be like, oh man, that fucking match between Jordan Devlin and Tyson T-Bone was a classic, then I'd go back and watch it. I haven't heard any buzz about this at all. Nothing.
And they also tried something new with the first round of the UK tournament by releasing it exclusively to social media live streams, including Facebook Watch and even Twitter. And I don't think that helped either. Yeah,
I don't like when WWE does that. I understand they're trying to appeal to the people that would want to watch that kind of stuff there, but I hated the Mixed Match Challenge on Facebook. And when you do it on YouTube and stuff, like, it gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. You put up 10, 15 videos a day or something like that, and a lot of, like, the raw fallout or the raw, like, clips of different things that had happened, and the next thing you know, something that people should have been paying attention to is the 19th thing down on the list.
Yep.
So I think that's a mistake, but the first round matches, for those who want to know the results for this, Gentleman Jack Gallagher defeated Drew Gulak, Flash Morgan Webster defeated James Drake, Travis Banks defeated Ligero. Is it Ligero? That's how you pronounce it, right?
I've been saying Ligero, but I don't know.
Ligero.
It could be. You could totally be right. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Ligero? I don't know. Masked Dude. Travis Banks defeated Masked Dude with horns. Ashton Smith. Yeah, he defeated Hoovy. Ashton Smith defeated Joseph Connors. Zack Gibson defeated Amir Jordan Devlin defeated Tyson T-Bone. Dave Mastiff defeated Kenny Williams. And Joe Coffey defeated Tucker T. Because you need coffee versus tea. So yeah, skipped all that. Nothing to say about it.
I'm surprised that Kenny Williams lost. I'll say that much.
Yeah, he seemed pretty interesting when he was on 205 Live. And judging by the people that were in the tournament itself, I would have much rather had seen Kenny Williams pop up than maybe Ashton Smith, maybe Jordan Devlin, maybe Gallagher even.
The people were super into Gallagher, so I was for Gallagher being in the tournament. I would have been into Kenny Williams fighting Adam Cole and not Wolfgang.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that definitely would have been a good thing. So, just going day one and then going day two here. I'm going to breeze through the results for anybody that wants to know, and then we're going to go and recap different thoughts that we had. First off was Zack Gibson defeating Gentleman Jack Gallagher, Joe Coffey defeating Dave Mastiff, Flash Morgan Webster defeating Jordan Devlin, Travis Banks defeating Ashton Smith, Toni Storm going over on Killer Kelly and Isla Dawn in what should have been a fatal 4-way, but turned out to not have Jinny in it. We'll get to that in a little bit. Zack Gibson defeated Flash Morgan Webster. Travis Banks beat Joe Coffey. And then we had a 6-man tag between British Strong Style and the Undisputed Era. And Zack Gibson finally defeats Travis Banks to win the tournament and get his title shot against Pete Dunne. Let's go back from the start here. Zack Gibson versus Gentleman Jack Gallagher. Instead of going match by match and writing notes down and giving my thoughts, I had such little to say about this that I did what I tend to do for the Marvel TV shows, which is that I give my running commentary for it. Anything that pops into my mind while watching it. The very first note that I have for day one is Gentleman Jack Gallagher needs to never wear those tights ever again. Ever. And you know what? That was a running theme for this. So many people, their ring gear, I was just like, no, don't. No. Joe Coffey was one. But Gallagher, I was just like, oh God, that's terrible. And this is a dude that wore the, like, what looked like the
Holmes gear.
Well, he wore that weird, the tights that looked like it was like the inside liner of a balloon? Yeah, like that was really bad. And this was even worse. Did not like it at all.
I was surprised to see him just, he was like regular Jack Gallagher and he was just, he's the babyface here. Because Zack Gibson, one thing I'll say about Gibson, I don't know much about him. Callum did say that he fully expected him to win, so he must be like a major heel in the UK scene. But this dude was booed from minute one.
Yeah. He was pretty much one of the only, like, heels of the bunch.
I think he was the only heel.
Well, to a certain extent,
then
some other
Joe
people.
Coffey turned, but
yeah. And even some of the other people, like, you could tell that there were people leaning towards other people. Then again, they're not necessarily heels, but I wrote down, though, too, Zack Gibson looks bland. He could be anybody from anywhere in any indie fed, and I would think nothing of it.
I'll agree with you that he came across a little bland. I really think that it took me until the finals. By the finals, I mean him fighting Pete Dunne to really be like, all right, this guy's money. But he's got to be in there with the right guy. He seems like he's one of those people.
I still didn't even feel that at the end of this. I don't know if I would necessarily have picked him to win. I saw a little bit more in Joe Coffey. I definitely saw more in Dave Mastiff.
I was 100%. As soon as Kenny Williams was eliminated, I was 100% behind Flash Morgan Webster. I don't think he'll be a champion, but I think he'll always be a standout.
I could see him being a potential tag champ. Or, you know what? I mean, hell, we don't know how this is really going to work necessarily. He could end up being a champion. He's not going to be a champion in WWE. Like, proper WWE, though.
I think that they see something in Zack Gibson because he's a little gruff, A lot of the guys on these shows were very flashy, and no pun intended as far as Morgan Webster.
Flashy Morgan Webster.
But yeah, a lot of them were, just really high flying, a lot of the forearms and elbow shots. I guess that's another thing too. Maybe the wrestling styles bled together in some ways.
See, I didn't even feel like anybody was flashy. I felt like they were really trying hard and they wanted every match to seem like it was the best match of the night, but that it didn't come off as special.
Yeah, that's a perfect descriptor.
I guess kind of like... Maybe, I mean, this sounds really like, oh God, you're so like bougie and stuff. But like, it kind of felt to me like this was an indie fed. Of where it's just like, man, this is the biggest match of my career. And it's in front of 100 people.
Well, it essentially was a super indie show. Including those that they brought in from WWE because they're largely independent names.
Yeah, to a certain extent. But even those, like, they feel more polished. And since these guys haven't gone through the WWE system, I don't feel like they're larger than life. I feel like they picked them up on the side of the road and this was an extra show. So when you show me, like, Zack Gibson, and I don't know anything about him, and I've never seen him before, and he's supposed to be the guy that's kind of, like, controlling this thing, and he's, like, the big standout star, my first reaction was just like, he's anybody. He for all I know, he could be PJ Polacco.
Just incredible for those of you that don't.
Exactly.
Know. But
Aldo Montoya. Portuguese man of war.
Yes. In terms of somebody with some presence, I would have loved to have seen either Travis Banks or Flash Morgan Webster win. Because I think they had a bit of presence about them, especially Flash Morgan Webster. If you cannot tell, I walked away from this wanting more of Flash Morgan Webster. It was a good, I can't say it was a good first night, but it was decent, and I think the 6-man tag at the end of the show salvaged it. And by the way, that is the perfect showcase for what the WWE system can do, because Seven and Bate felt like major stars and they got reactions like major stars because they've been through the WWE system and they've been on that TV. And no matter what anyone wants to say about certain promotions being better or just as important, no, there's nothing like going through WWE TV, because that just makes you so much more of a star.
Right. That's the difference, is you might be a better professional wrestler going through another system, but you're not going to be as good of a star. Flash Morgan Webster was one of the only ones that I felt he actually wanted to be in WWE, instead of that he wanted to just be a wrestler.
You know, and they were telling some interesting backstories on the guys, like Gibson, and we'll get to this, I guess, in day 2, but Nigel McGuinness said something like he had to hide his dreams from his family, and he was taking 2 buses and a train just to get to training. And he even said himself, he's like, this is the only place I've ever wanted to be. And you can feel that it's supposed to be huge. It just didn't come across that way. Now, arguably, if I went in blind, maybe I'd be saying something completely different.
Exactly. That's another factor of this. Is like, I can't get invested in somebody who I know is going to go nowhere. And even somebody like a Dave Mastiff. I had a note written down. I said that it's weird that they put the 2 big guys against each other, but okay. Both of them are moving around pretty well for their sizes. Joe Coffey did a nice springboard, whatever. At the end of this, I was like, but I know Dave Mastiff loses, and he looks like he should be the winner of this damn thing because he's so fucking big. But now I know that he gets eliminated in effectively the first round. I know it's not technically the first round, but really, who's going to watch the other round more so than just watching this? Not many people are really going to watch this to begin with, because it's an extra thing. You know, you talk to a lot of casual WWE fans, even the ones that might necessarily have the network, and they still go like, yeah, I watch Raw, I watch SmackDown, and maybe I watch NXT. I don't watch 205 Live, I don't watch this, I don't watch that. This is extraneous. So giving more content is good, but giving content where that's supposed to be contingent upon something, to be like, oh, I really, really know a lot about Dave Mastiff now that I've seen one match of his beforehand, and then this one, doesn't come off the same. Knowing that he's going to lose, I don't put any investment in him. I'm just looking at, is Coffey something interesting? And Coffey was interesting. Bad look to him. That fucking tights were terrible. But it's just kind of, even this, I said, I would have thought that Ashton Smith would have beaten Travis Banks. If I would have gone into that match not knowing what would have happened, I would have been like, I bet Ashton Smith is the guy that they want to push. But since I know that they didn't, I was just sitting there going, all right, when's Smith going to lose? That sucks. I hate that.
Yeah, and I'll give you another example when we talk about day 2. Outside of the tournament stuff, the women,
Well, before we got even into that, the only note that I wrote down before that was I can't look at Jordan Devlin and not think he's a poor attempt at cloning Finn Balor.
Oh yeah, well, he was trained by Finn Balor. He looks like his little brother. It's weird.
He's like the reverse of like the Mew and Mewtwo thing. Like instead of improving, he's just like not necessarily as good. And anybody who's listened to this podcast knows that like Finn Balor hasn't been getting the best treatment from us recently. It's been a little bit more along the lines of just like, he's a little overrated. Jordan Devlin's like, well, if you can't get Finn Balor, kind of like, well, if you can't get a really good hamburger, then get McDonald's kind of thing.
Yeah.
The women, though, I was surprised to see them. And one thing that I thought was interesting is they just completely ignored everything with Jinny.
Now, I didn't even know that there was supposed to be a fourth. Maybe I did, and I just completely blanked out on it.
Supposedly what happened was they started the Fatal 4-Way, and very early on, she took a bump, and they were like, oh, crap, you're out of the match. So then they just said, fuck it. Let's just reshoot it as a triple threat. Which is kind of shitty. I really kind of wanted to see what happened with the bump. I can understand why they did that. Yeah.
And that's another thing, too, about this show being pre-taped and aired as a pre-recorded and pre-edited show. They did a lot of, like, really weird cuts that just gave things away even more. And specifically, there was a tag match in day 2 that we'll get to. But I was like, man, if I didn't already know the spoilers, you're spoiling it for me with these camera cuts.
Mm-hmm. Just like Money in the Bank. When Money in the Bank changed the way that they were positioning the filming for Alexa Bliss, it was like, oh, she's winning it now. Because you wanted to get that shot, you know? There's a note I wrote to myself that says, Killer Kelly is trying way too hard.
I can see that.
That was from her entrance. I was just like, I don't buy you being such a badass. Knock it off.
I was not surprised at all to see Toni Storm win because she was the one that we knew from the Mae Young Classic.
Yep. I have a note that says, Toni Storm strikes me as being in an entirely different league than Killer Kelly and Isla Dawn. Isla Dawn stayed in my head. Let's just leave it there. Like, you got a crush on her. It's a different story.
Yeah, like, God, she was hot. Like,
she was not bad looking. I'll say that. But at the same time, I think I'd probably put her third.
In this match?
Oh, no, not in this match.
I was going to say.
No, Killer Kelly's third in this match.
But Toni Storm is great.
I like Toni Storm.
This was paint by numbers here with Toni Storm.
Mm-hmm. And man, I have to crap on someone here that I know people are going to be like, oh, for fuck's sake, Toni. Johnny Saint, man, I did not know anything about him, but he is a fucking terrible talker.
Well, come on, dude. I don't know how old he is. He's in his 60s, I want to say. Maybe 70s?
Vince is in his 70s. He can fucking get the crowd riled up. He can cut a promo. This guy's not entertaining at all.
He's literally like of an era where, British men were posh. I mean, take Callum, and he's very reserved. And turn him back 40 years. Think about it.
It's just a matter of like, if that kid's going to be the general manager, and man, I don't know. I was just like, oh, dude, stop it. Knock it off.
I'm a little surprised. I guess it's because Regal lives in America that they weren't just like, all right, let's make Corey Graves the GM of NXT and let's put Regal in the GM of the UK position.
Yeah, I got a feeling Regal's just too important.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, he has to oversee more than just that. And Johnny Saint, I don't know his background. I don't know if he's going to help in like training and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
He very well could. I mean, I will say this. If you can go on YouTube and watch some of his World of Sports stuff, that pace that they were doing way back then is unreal. Like, his level of wrestling is ridiculous. And I think it's a cool nod, but it's also like it doesn't fit. We'll talk again, jumping to day 2, but we'll talk more about his inability to talk when we talk about day 2.
Well, I'll also skip a little bit ahead of time just by saying that this thing with Johnny Saint, Triple H, Zack Gibson, and Shawn Michaels not knowing where to stand was awkward as fuck.
I thought the whole, like, the ending thing where everybody comes out on stage was awkward just in general. Like, here we go, let's all take a bow kind of thing.
That was weird too, but this is day 1 where it was like Johnny Saint's kind of looking at Triple H going, where do I stand? And Triple H is like, why don't you stand over on this side? And can somebody please raise Zack Gibson's fucking hand? And Shawn Michaels is just kind of like, that guy. That's the guy won. And it's like, this was so fucking weird. Even Shawn Michaels, to a certain extent, it was kind of like, what's Shawn doing out there? Like,
yeah, I guess Shawn is kind of sort of full-time with NXT because he's been doing a lot with them, and I mean it's not like it's a surprise. We all know he's Triple H's best friend, and I mean if you're gonna have somebody working with developmental, that's like having God in developmental, so go for it. But he stole the show for me, where he comes out and the crowd's singing his theme song, and they're doing the one more match thing, and he just goes, "You gotta stop."
Yeah, and he's doing the little dance and stuff. It's still like HBK, but grow the hair out again. God damn it.
Yeah, but like for me, he's so in control of the people still that they can chant one more match, and anyone would be like, maybe. Shawn's just like, you gotta stop.
Yeah. He's the only one that can get away with like, nah. The only other thing on day 1 to talk about is that 6-man tag. And everybody kind of like, if anything, people were talking about that being great. At this point, I had seen so many matches that I didn't care about that I didn't really have the energy for it.
Well, I'm completely biased towards anything involving the Undisputed Era. But this was a good match. This was a good time. And again, this shows what it means and the kind of intensity it brings to a match when you're in that WWE system. And yeah, they were just on fire with this match. And I have to say that finish with the Dragon Suplex and Tyler Bate bouncing off the ropes and hitting the clothesline, that was nasty.
I don't even remember it. That's how, like, I was just like, I wanted this to end at that point,
Well, you were also... When did you watch it? You didn't watch it today, did you? Because I know you didn't watch it when it happened.
No, I watched it a little bit before Raw, and then I finished it after Raw.
Yeah, I think, again, giving it a designated time and just airing it live. By the way, it would have been aired at the exact same time, just a week early.
Yeah, so strange. Today, got a chance to watch day 2, and a quick rundown of the results. Moustache Mountain defeated the Undisputed Era to win the NXT Tag Team Championship. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Charlie Morgan defeated Killer Kelly. Noam Dar randomly inserted into a match to become the #1 contender of the United Kingdom Championship, and he does so by defeating Travis Banks, Mark Andrews, and Flash Morgan Webster.
Flash Gallagher.
Adam Cole retained the North American Championship over Wolfgang. Aleister Black and Ricochet defeated EC3 and the Velveteen Dream.
That was fun.
Shayna Baszler retained the NXT Women's title over Toni Storm by countout. And Pete Dunne retained the United Kingdom Championship over Zack Gibson. First of the notes that I have down is, wow, if I didn't know the results of this, I would be so shocked about the tag title switch.
So would I. And I have to say, the crowd popping got me so excited because they were just like, oh shit, they actually won, yes!
Right, that's basically their perspective was just like, oh fuck, really? Because I didn't expect any titles to change hands. I figured if anything, maybe the UK title would. And then I started to think to myself, all right, if any other one wins, it'll be the tag title. Won't be the North American, it won't be the women's. Those were the two in jeopardy. And at the same time, I was just going, yeah, but likely not. Then I read the results and I'm like, wait, there's a fucking title change? Oh shit, Moustache Mountain wins. I thought that they could potentially have fought at TakeOver, but no, okay, we're going to do this. And then, of course, the next thought was, all right, well, when are they going to just win the titles back? And now, since we know the results from NXT,
we know
because it's spoiled for that.
They have already won the titles back. But they cut a funny promo, it's on YouTube, where they're like, we're still the champions. United Kingdom matches don't matter in America. We're still the champions.
And it's like, yeah, technically you are still the champions. Because by the time they won those titles back, this title change hadn't even aired yet. So they literally lost the titles and won them back before they lost the titles. Isn't that kind of weird?
It was a good match, too. And this is where it really hurt. That I already knew the result and it was a week old. Because I love the Undisputed Era. I thought that their match with Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan was great. And I would have loved this match so much more had I not known.
Yep.
Because I was literally just like, all right, is this where they win it? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, that's the downside to this. That really hurt that. And some of the other things, like, I don't care about Charlie Morgan defeating Killer Kelly. That's not going to ruin anything. But the tag title switch, I really would have liked to not know that ahead of time. And then been like, oh, damn. Oh, where do they go from here? For even a moment before I would start getting into, okay, they're probably just going to switch it on NXT, then maybe they'll do something on TakeOver, then whatever like that, blah, 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 blah. Before getting into the analytical side, I want that moment of just being surprised. I didn't even get that, because I already knew it was happening. So that's like, oh, fuck you, WWE, you know what I mean?
And to anyone out there that's going to say, well, just avoid the spoilers, as we've covered endlessly, it's our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, WWE, gives away the results on the app and on social media as soon as it happens.
Yeah, WWE.com itself tells you what happened.
Because I was just reporting on the cast release when my phone went off and it's like breaking news. Moustache Mountain wins the tag titles. And it was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, thanks for spoiling it. Like that kind of thing.
But yeah, the crowd in England went crazy. Would have been a great moment as a home viewer had I not known the results.
Yep.
Good match. You should watch it. It's one of the very few things from these 2 days that you should absolutely watch. I'll say this, day 2 was a lot better than day 1.
Oh, definitely.
Watch this match. Cool note about Tyler Bate only being like 2021, and he's already a United Kingdom champion and an NXT tag champion. Like, this dude is doing some awesome things.
And he's a potential future United Kingdom champion again, I think. For sure.
I don't think he beats Pete Dunne, because at this point, I think whoever beats Pete Dunne is going to be like a major rising star, big deal kind of thing.
At the very least, I think it's going to be a heel.
Yeah, because now that Dunne is just like
de facto babyface.
Yeah, he's beloved by his home crowd and by the American crowd as well.
Yeah. Note that I had about Charlie Morgan, I said, well, she's just female Mark Andrews, isn't she?
I called her British Bailey.
Then Mark Andrews came out. It was like, okay.
And I've watched Mandrews. I'll always call him Mandrews because that's how I first saw him. I watched him from TNA, and he's just like, he is the equivalent of like, let's go to a Blink-182 concert and eat pizza, and I want to go to Warped Tour, and like he seems like the kind of guy that'd be awesome to hang out with, and he's a fun wrestler. But I now just see him in that underdog, but will probably never win kind of role.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because I do like him in the ring. He's still fun to watch.
I thought he was going to win the triple threat. I said, okay, the triple threat is the perfect triple threat because it's 3 guys that could easily win because they've all been heavily pushed at one point or another. And then...
Well, then Johnny Satan comes out and says, hold on, I'm going to change my mind here. We're going to have a 4-man fatal match. See ya.
Like, he said it, He was like, hold on, I have decided to edit this match. It's going to be a 4-man. Oh, fuck. What was I supposed to say? A 4-man fatal. And I let it go because I'm like, all right, he's not used to it. I admit, like, people don't think, hey, let's call this a triple threat or a fatal 4-way or a fatal 5-way. I started laughing, though, because the crowd, when they started wrestling, just started chanting, 4-man fatal. Like...
Well, actually, one thing that I was going to bring up, I forgot about it. It's good thing you brought it up. I couldn't understand a good portion of the chants. And that's something
that's why I wanted Callum here.
Yeah, because
I was going to really grill him, like, what are the origins of these chants?
It's hard to understand them sometimes. And I did get that one of them was, if you hate Zack, Gibson, stand up. And they kept doing that over and over and over again. But general rule of thumb seems to be, if you're in the UK, there's a chant that's going to be very long and complicated. Like, it'll be like, if you're a fan of Tyler Bate and you think that he should win the championship, and then if you also had some popcorn, tell us what you think about the popcorn, and if you prefer Tyler Bate with Trent Seven or against Pete Dunne and whatever. And it's like, all right, now everybody repeat it. It's like, fuck that. You know, like
there's some innovative chants. Like, there's, there's the one that everybody does where it's just Seven Nation Army, where it's like, go da 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 da. So for this one, it was I think it was go Flash Morgan Webster, which is fine, but you should have incorporated some Oasis into that, I think.
Today is gonna be the day that Flash Morgan Webster's gonna win this match, or something.
Like what else was there? There was Tyler Bate, Tyler Bate, Tyler Bate, Tyler Bate.
That I don't get, because what's the tune?
I know for sure it's a soccer football thing where they're just like, they did it for Gable too, right? The Gable, Chad Gable, Gable, Jordan, right?
Yeah, that I really don't get. And I know that that's not something that I can really say as a negative in the sense of being like, oh, this is bad, because it's just like, for that culture, it's great. For somebody who's a complete ignorant American on that, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So that's like the equivalent of me going out there and being like, Undertaker, John Cena, Nikki Bella, like just naming a bunch of things, and
like, we don't get that into our sports where like every chant is basically the same. It's just like,
let's go blank, clap, clap,
yeah.
clap, clap, clap.
Whereas, like, they get really into it. Another one I really like, they didn't do any Beatles-inspired chants here, but they did the Big Cass one back when they did NXT TakeOver London. It was just like, Hey Jude, but Big Cass. So they were just like, nah, 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 nah. Like, that would have been great for Pete Dunne. Like, doing nah, 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 Pete Dunne. Like, I don't know. I do always enjoy the lively crowd. They're at least having fun.
Right. That's good to see that even though we weren't all that in on this, that the crowd loved it. That's fun.
And they're allowing and encouraging in the UK, which I think is smart because that's where it started, the whole one fall.
Yeah, that's good.
But
it's a special one fall fatal man for
I kind of think 4-man fatal should become the new fatal 4-way for the UK division.
I just thought that was funny because it was like the first night I'm like, ooh, this Johnny Saint guy, I don't know much about him. And then he comes out for this and it's just like, hey, no longer this. It's going to be a 4-man fatal. And you're like, right, thanks, Johnny. Can you just go into the back? And
it speaks to the dumbness of, well, this is a fatal 4-way.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, it's a 4-man match.
Yeah, this is going to be a 4-man.
Fuck, I was supposed to say something here. It's fatal.
It's a 4-man threat. Triple fatal match cage. Oh, crap. Like, we don't have a cage.
I think that's one of those back in like WCW and ECW was either called a triangle or a triple threat, which makes not triple threat, a 3-way dance, which makes sense. But Vince was probably like, well, they're not dancing and they're not shapes. Damn it, it's a triple threat now.
Triple threat sounds so much better though.
Yeah, it does.
Let's see. I like Noam Dar. Glad to see he won. Did not give a shit about Wolfgang.
By the way, Noam Dar, because he was in the match with Flash Morgan Webster, he called his finish the Champagne Super Knee Bar. And I don't know how much you know about Oasis, but one of their
Champagne Supernova.
Was Champagne Supernova, and it's just
I like that song.
That's so fucking good. And damn it, I want to see more now. And good on Noam Dar for just coming back and like maybe he can find a niche in the UK division. Not that I thought he was bad on 205 Live, but and she did just come back herself, but I don't think they're gonna pair him with Alicia Fox.
Maybe he should just say that for other people. Flash Morgan Webster, like whatever, like that.
Flash Morgan Webster.
Yeah, Wolfgang, he's shown me nothing ever since the very beginning. I just don't care about Wolfgang.
I don't know why he was one of the main four that they wanted to push initially. It was him, Seven, Dunne, and Bate. God, I just don't care about Wolfgang. I mean, I'm sure he's a cool dude, and good for him. He was, working for 15 years. Cool that he gets this spot, but
I would not care whatsoever if he got released.
Kenny Williams versus Adam Cole would have rocked the house. I'll say this. Maybe do a non-title. Adam Cole, Aleister Black would have rocked the house. Who is somebody else in the UK division? Like,
well, fucking Neville. Would have been fun.
I thought about this too. Finn Balor. He's British. I just think that there are so many better opponents, and it just Johnny Saint would have been a better opponent. I'm not even kidding. Johnny Saint, Adam Cole would have been a great match. I wish William Regal could work. I could go on and on. Like,
I didn't care about Baszler Storm. It was fine, but meh.
Well, I'm gonna actually go back to the Adam Cole match. The end of that, and I don't know if you were just fast forwarding.
Oh, I totally didn't pay attention to the end of it.
Dude, Adam Cole wins the match, does the Bebe, does it a second time, gets ready to go, and they're like, no, one more time, and he hypes this crowd up, and that last Adam Cole Bebe was so loud, and I'm like, how can these guys be heels? They're so fucking over. And that was my takeaway from this match. It was just like, Adam Cole is going to be a star, except that when you put him on the main roster, he's going to look a little small. But Adam Cole is money. And speaking of money, the Velveteen Dream. How much fun is he to watch?
He's great. He's like my favorite dude in NXT for the most part.
He is really just trying to work character development and just telling a story through body language because everybody else is telling a story through moves. And he did the thing where he's circling Ricochet and then he goes, no, and he rips off his shirt and he's got Aleister Black's shirt on him and he goes, I want you. And the crowd immediately gets it and starts chanting, say his name, say his name. And so simple before they even lock up. And they were having the crowd eat out of the palm of their hands.
That was a fine match. The not the world title, the UK title match was fine, but I really don't have that much to say about it either. Like, by this point, I'm still just kind of like, eh.
The UK match was a hard-hitting, like, really stiff, kind of strong style, kind of British, type of a match. There was no surprise because I knew, and that was the main takeaway from all of this. I knew. Yeah. And by the way, Toni Storm and Shayna Baszler, again, it was whatever. I know nobody on the NXT roster right now is going to beat Shayna. I didn't, without the spoilers, think that she was going to lose here.
No, not a chance. So the general rule of thumb with this was I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I wouldn't have known what would have happened, but I also would have enjoyed it a lot more if I think that the people would have been a little bit more captivating. And I'm not all that interested in the NXT UK division right now.
I would agree. I'm going to have to see what they do with the UK division. I know back in the day, UK wrestling used to have like a round system. They did not initiate that at any point during these past two tournaments, but it'll be interesting to see whether or not they initiate a round system as a throwback to World of Sport, or some type of hardcore division as nod to Insane Championship Wrestling in Scotland, which they've gotten a lot of their talent from. It'll be interesting to see what they do going forward.
So if you guys have any opinions about this and you want to drop them in the comments below, go ahead and do that. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring the bell for notifications, because the next things that are going to be coming up is going to be the men's bracket and the women's bracket for round 1 of the Sexiest Superstars tournament. So we will see you there. Any other plugs you want to toss out?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. Stay tuned to WrestleZone for your daily wrestling news. Stay tuned to Smark Out Moment for all of our weeklies and fun editorials, because this is the most fun thing that I get to do as far as wrestling is concerned. And I think that's it. I'll buy a t-shirt at Smark Out Moment TeePublic. Let's put some money in Tony's pocket.
Yeah, also hit up the Patreon if you've got the spare change in that regard too. And thank you all for listening to this. We will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.